Welcome to today's episode where we have a pleasure of hosting total legend Chris Lyle. Chris is not only a licensed attorney specializing in intellectual property and patent prosecution, but also a visionary entrepreneur who founded two innovative SaaS businesses. With Law Hassle, he has revolutionized the intake process for law firms, and with ComFox, he has created a state-of-the-art legal research platform. Beyond his contribution to legal tech, Chris is a partner in a California-based law firm and the mastermind behind Kickstarter Legal, a game-changing service providing digital business owners with flat-fee, honest legal services. From contract templates to trademark consultations, Chris is dedicated to simplifying legal complexities for his peers in the digital space. Join us as we dive into his journey of pushing limits to automate and simplify, ensuring that you can focus on what truly matters, enjoying life and growing your business. Chris, welcome to the show.
Welcome, brother.
Thanks. I appreciate you having me on such short notice.
Yeah.
That's how we roll, mate. That's how we roll. It's been really fast paced with everything lately. You've been in high level for years. I've been in high level for a couple of years too. And the pace at what Sean's really is just this week, and not just little things, but like really big. It's just crazy. So trying to be on top of it all and running this podcast. Sometimes these things happen off the cuff, and oftentimes they're the best episodes. I'm really looking forward to this one anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, quick question, man. What month of so they switched high level switched from law firms specifically to agencies at the end of
Mhm.
2018, right? It was like October, November of 2018. Was that right when
Yeah.
you started and you were like their transitionary, like helpful agency that helped them get to that other space, or how did that work?
Yeah, I don't know the exact date on my top of my head, but it was before they made that transition because I became
Uh,
friends with Sean and Varun because I was still one of their initial handful of law firms that kind of came to the service. To make long story short, like I wanted more reviews from my law firm and a different way to communicate with my potential clients to get them in the door. Cause we were obviously doing what most people understand we did like 3 years ago is like duct taping a bunch of stuff together to get it to
oh yeah.
work. And that's exactly what we're doing. Zapier, Ring Central, all the stuff to work. And then I met Sean. And then when he started talking about, hey, we're going to start transitioning down this road and start doing like more automation, workflow stuff, and like going down that route, you interested? And I'm like, absolutely. Because so he used
Yeah.
stuff we were doing and then obviously stuff other people in the group at the same time that I met later on, like Matt DeSeno and Rob Bailey and all these other guys, right? I didn't even know they were in the mix at the same time. I was in the mix too as well. But yeah, we all essentially gave feedback on like how this should all and it's growing into what it is now today, which is wild. I don't even talk to Sean anymore. He's too busy for me now.
Dude, what's crazy is I jumped in 20 like the early 2019. I think it was like February of 2019. So like right after the transition, and I was using Zapier, Hot Prospector, Gravity Forms, all these things like duct taping everything together. My buddies, dude, check out this platform. And we all saw like Rob Bailey's stuff and all his training. But it's crazy that Mark Helton, the owner of Hot Prospector, is now like a in the marketplace. He's building apps for high level. That was why I moved into high levels because I couldn't pay for Hot Prospector. It was just too much. I was doing too much volume.
It
Yep.
was definitely a wild experience, and I don't know if anybody's heard all these stories of other people in the community, but there was at one point in time at the very beginning, I think late 2018, probably when they start making the transition, Sean and Maroon came to me and I said, "Hey, we want to grow this into this, but we need some help. Would you be interested in like giving us $5,000 or something like that in exchange for you get to
Mhm.
put together your feature list?" And I'm like, "Sign me up. What if I'm my credit card information?"
Yep.
So, anyways, so there's other people that did the same thing as well, and we got to like take part in some features that are essentially still on the platform today that are useful. Like for example,
It
I say biggest contribution was stale opportunities, right? In
nice.
our pipeline, we were doing it is there was no way for us to know whether a lead has dropped off, whether they weren't in a campaign, they were being actively prospect for a certain period of time. So like I talked to Sean, like I needed a way to figure out like if somebody fell off in this stage of the pipeline, that they just get picked back up again and go at it again. And that's how that whole transition started. And I used it the shit out of that thing. So,
Dude,
but that's a
that's
way,
crazy.
way more cool stuff now. But yeah.
Yeah, and Joe Rare told me the same thing when I was talking to him. He's like, back in the day, I was like, Sean, we need calendars, bro. Like we need, and they wasn't even there. And then Joe Rare's one of the OGs too. And so he helped them get calendars. So it's crazy that I didn't even know the story about them going to you guys and saying, we want all of your guys' feature lists from the early adopters. That's a
Yeah.
cool,
Yeah.
that makes
It
me
was, it
think
was
of
real
what
cool.
I could have done with like doing that for any of my companies, like going to all the early adopters, say like, what do you want? Instead of just anyone, like you could send a form out to anyone and say, what's your feature request, right? What do you want the most? What do you
Yeah.
like the most? But going to like the people that have been there since the beginning and going, what do you really want? Make a list of everything you want.
And if anything, it highlights the dedication that Sean has to making a platform or a software that his users want. And it
Yep.
still is prevalent today. Like he's still, hey, Sean, coming at you. Like, and all the stuff he's launching, everybody's like, this is stuff I need.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, it's
Hell yeah.
crazy.
So
I think we should maybe do a quick summary of those, because there's so many new people jumping in high level, right? And they're new and they probably don't know the backstory. Do you guys want to do a little brief backstory about high level, like just for those newbies listening?
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Chris, take it away, bro.
Yeah, I'll dive into it. High level started off as for me, it was a way for me to get reviews from my law firm. Listen to what I just said, you newbies on the world. Newbies in this GHL group. I bought Law Hustle. I bought High Level specifically to get more reviews for my law firm. So if you need one specific feature inside that entire feature set you could potentially sell to people and make a great deal of money out of it, there's one right there for you. Like you don't even just sell automations. Like you can just sell reputation management and make a bunch of money. Essentially what it is. But anyways, to make a long story short, yeah, that's the only reason I came into that. Was I wanted a law firm. I wanted reviews for a law firm to be able to get higher up the chain because the law firm market is very competitive, especially in the injury market. My firm does injury stuff. I do patent prosecution stuff. My firm does injury stuff. So that's very competitive. So you need to show that you're like the leader in the pack. And that's the whole reason we did it. That's how it all started. But through the course of that and having multiple discussions with Sean, okay, we need this feature and that, like it transitioned into this thing. Hey, why don't we build a bigger platform that like you could automate the entire intake process or the follow-up process and get people to the finish line, which is essentially appointment for most people, right?
Yep.
Without having so many humans involved to just make it automated. And that's like where I transitioned to, which
And that's
it's a
where I
very
came
small thing
in.
at the very beginning, but now it's way bigger now.
Yeah, that's
beforehand-
exactly where I came in. Go ahead.
So beforehand, wasn't high level an agency like on their own, like selling services, like traditional markets?
No, I think Robin still has an agency with Paulson. I think they were in something together. I can't remember. There were connections inside of the top management of High Level that were agency related, but they were not an agency. No.
So the history from them is like Sean and Varun straight up SaaS, like software developers. They come from that realm.
Sean had
and Varun
QuickBooks.
came from another project that they sold to somebody else. It was regarding invoices. I think it was like called Invoice Sherpa is what the name of the company was. And they sold that company, which obviously opened up like to Varun and Sean meeting each other during those days. I think it was during those things. And now they formed together to put High Level together. And then that transitioned them into meeting Robin, who brought the marketing perspective that Sean and Varun didn't have. They had the development side, and that's where it just went propelled.
That's when Rob Bailey and all those guys were jumping in. I don't know the backstory to their friendship, but I know that's that early stage when they were doing they were pitching to people that Rob Bailey was talking to. There's like that old picture. I don't know if it's on their website or somewhere, but it's like Robin and Sean pitching High Level, and you see Rob Bailey on the side, and there's just a bunch of people in 30 or 40 people just sitting there like a classroom.
Have you ever looked at the background of that image?
No. Are you there?
I did.
Have you ever looked at the background of that image? Like what Sean is showcasing on screen?
I have, but I don't remember it. Yeah.
Is at the back end
It's
of your
Law Hustle. That's right. It was Law Hustle. He's been pitching
It's
Law
my
Hustle
account.
since almost day one. Yeah.
He was in there, Rob Bailey event, pitching a High Level, but he was showing off our account.
Yeah. Dude, Law Hustle literally since day one, since I got in, and I got in just for automations, like the fact that you could do campaigns and triggers, but then later I found out like triggers don't go in sequence sometimes because it's all like one bundle. It's like a rubber band. One could fire before the other, and we got into a bunch of issues. But I remember seeing Law Hustle all over the place, dude. That was the premier. If you wanted a white label app, it was Law Hustle that you were looking at. If anything they were trying to sell, they were using Law Hustles.
I think we were the number one white label customer that they had. Like we were the first one to say, hey, I need to brand this for myself. And I think we were the number one people to make that, to start propelling them down that path. Obviously there's thousands of them now, probably hundreds of thousands of them now at this point, I would assume. But yeah, that was,
man, you lawyers in your deep pockets, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't say that, but
yeah, well, it's $1,500 a quarter for a white label app.
I mean, if
I'm
you
over
think
here
about
like
the amount of money I had to pay for law school, stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's tough to
debt's a
put that way.
bitch. And, medical and law, it's fucking, you're done after college. Debt up the ass. So check this out, man. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go it.
I was gonna say, let's jump into what we so originally when we booked this, why it's such short notice is because everyone's been talking about the ClickFunnels lawsuit, right? So ClickFunnels is suing High Level. And to be honest, I don't even know the legality of doing this episode. Like, you're the lawyer, you can tell us, like, is it breaching something talking about this, even though it's public knowledge? So maybe we can get into that as well.
Hey, one thing's for
But
sure, it's very fresh, right? This is fresh
very
news
fresh.
from since Monday, right? Or Tuesday? Monday,
Mo-
Tuesday?
I
Monday or
think
Tuesday,
the
yeah.
complaint was filed on like April 22nd or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's fairly new. It's fairly
Yeah,
new.
so it just started to get leaked or people got caught wind of it early this week. I actually woke up at 6:30, which is weird for me, and I saw my Facebook and I actually read through the entire thing and I'm not a lawyer, but I take it upon myself to try to get smarter and read bigger words. So I like to read that kind of shit.
Yep.
And so I read through it and all the conversation about this, like Rob Bailey and all those guys, we were all chatting in that big group chat. And I saw 30 messages in that group chat from Dallas. And that I was like, dude, Chris, we got to get you on here. And you're like, dude, I'm a patent lawyer. This is fucking perfect for me. So we're going to spend most of the time here talking about that lawsuit, learning more about it.
Yeah,
So
and guys,
Yeah.
so what we're talking about is the guy of the potato gun and High Level, basically. The guy with the potato gun is Russell Branson, who is the owner of ClickFunnels, and they filed a lawsuit against High Level, claiming that High Level has stolen some of their IP, basically. So it's gonna be a juicy episode, guys. So listen in and let's dive into it.
yeah, give us the dirty deets, Chris. So just hit us with what your thoughts, your opinions are, just reading it for the first time, and then what you found out going into the research and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even know about it at first. Like I got caught wind of it from a group as well. And then
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what is this? And I opened up the complaint and I read through it. And the first thing I saw was patent infringement. I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. This
Yeah.
is right up my alley. I do hardware and software patents all day long. That's why I talk with nerds about hardware and software all day long is what I do. I read through the entire complaint, obviously, because I'm the nerd in myself. And then I read through those patents that obviously ClickFunnels claiming that high level infringed on. So I wouldn't say I'm a expert in this specific patents that they have, but I got a gist of what's going on. But essentially what's happening, and I want to set up the foundation for this for the
Yeah.
viewers. Everybody thinks that ClickFunnels is suing GHL or high level and oh my God, what's going to happen to my business? Nothing's going to happen. This is such a common thing in the software world. People
Yep.
are throwing around patent infringement cases all day long, every day. Nobody just sees it. I see it a lot because I'm in that world. And you hear about the big ones like the Samsung and Apple disputes, right? Because those are big companies fighting over whatever their intellectual property. But this is not going to change anything for anybody in the GHL community. It's going to be a long drawn out process. And maybe will have already made an exit before this ever comes to fruition anyway in the first place.
Right. And you know what's crazy too, Chris, is Jasper used to be Jarvis, and Disney sent then Jarvis, a cease and desist, and nothing happened. They just changed the name. So it's just like these things can turn into absolutely nothing changed for high level for the company, but nothing for us, for end users.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fingers in the pot now, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
It's not just Sean and Varun anymore. Like it's Sean Varun and VC Capital and the things. So like they're gonna pile in their resources at the same time
Oh
to
yeah.
make sure that the outcome of this is the least damaging as possible to their brand as well as everything else. But Andrew, just as much as everybody else knows, ClickFunnels was built on the whole like hack somebody else's funnel stuff. That's their
Funnel
persona
hacking.
and that's their mission. So the fact this is happening is
Dude,
ridiculous in
that
my
whole
opinion.
Dan Henry, that's how so I was doing websites and SEO 15 years ago, right? And then I got into Dan Henry's crazy discount funnel, which by the way, I definitely could have been Dan Henry if I realized, oh, I should be an affiliate marketer. In 15 years ago, the motherfucker was making he had those big checks for 100,000 or whatever because all he was doing was boosting SEO affiliate pages. He was using SEO hacks to boost affiliate pages. And that's what I did. I boosted like local businesses in 30 days, got them number one in Google before Penguin, Panda, and Hummingbird and all that shit. Dan Henry, you lucky motherfucker. Anyways, that's where I learned about ClickFunnels, right? I learned about building these single page squeeze pages and funnel hacking and learning all those techniques and then running those crazy discount funnels through Facebook ads.
Yeah.
It is ironic that this is the lawsuit when they're the ones that coined hacking other people's shit.
Yeah, it's a wild situation too, in my perspective. And if you look at the case and then the actual patents themselves, nobody really wants to read patents because it's a bunch of like foreign language to most people, of like how we
Mhm.
write these things in the first place. But to make a long story short, the first patent they got was like in 2020. I think it was filed 2020. And it relates to an individual suite of tools that's web-based that you can make funnels in essentially, right? And like you can
Yeah.
do directional stuff based off of whatever happens at the funnel or what's clicked, right? Essentially, you can guide people down to the end result, which is checking out or whatever that item happens to be, right? So there's one patent that's that, and then they have another one that I think is a few years later that's a similar structure with a little bit of variations, but essentially it's all the same stuff. And let's just take this in concept, right? Andrew, what were you building websites in 2000 or before 2020,
Bef-
maybe like 2019? Going into that.
Yeah. I
What were you
mean,
building
up
websites in?
from 2010, 2009 to 2019, 2020, I was building in WordPress. I still build in
Okay.
WordPress or
Okay.
ClickFunnels. Like I did have a ClickFunnels account and I was building in ClickFunnels, but
In your
very
non-lawyery opinion, would you say that is one platform that you can do everything in?
correct. That is my non-lawyer.
I just WordPress, right? Even things like Squarespace. I think my first law firm web space was on Squarespace.
Yeah.
And that you can just drag and drop things exactly like you can now in the
Yeah.
workflow,
It
right?
seemed like
Same.
a super vague patent. And it makes me think Dan Martell. Are you familiar? You've heard me talk about Dan Martell before, right, Vit?
Oh, yeah. Numerous times.
Yeah. So he actually is Russell Brunson is a coaching client of Dan Martell. So he's a SaaS coach, all this stuff. And so I wonder if this whole patent thing is part of Dan's strategy because Dan is an incredibly smart dude. He had 3 exits, multi-million-dollar exits. And I feel like he's always like trademarking things. He's always doing stuff like in your world, Chris. And so I feel like this might be a move because they were around since what, 2007, ClickFunnels, 2008, some shit. Right. And so I feel like going that long without a patent and then trying to patent it because of competitors, I feel like it might have been like a strategy of someone that like Dan Martell who masterminded it. I don't know. It's just my inkling.
I don't know if anybody's familiar with like patents. Like the whole point of patent is if you get a patent, like you get to protect that right to make, use, and sell that thing for 20 years, essentially from the date you filed the application. But if you disclose your invention or your novel idea to the public, you must file a patent application within a year of you disclosing it to somebody else. So if you did a webinar, you talked about this shiny thing, ClickFunnels, for example, or something, if you want a patent on something that's protected in there, you need to it needs to be done within a year. So I don't really know. And which is an odd turn of events is you can't patent software. You can tie software to hardware and patent it, which is exactly what's happening in their patents for sure. Like it's exactly what I do all day long. You tie software to some sort of like memory or processor and you patent it essentially. That's what it's, that's exactly what they're doing. But my recollection, and don't quote me on this, and I'm not getting involved in this legal issue at all, but there was a period in time where Russell Brunson, their platform was exposed. Like you could see their code.
Yeah.
How long it was exposed, I don't know. But if it was more than a year, I think maybe they're outright then
So
there, right? And not to
let,
mention if they're using anything like open source code. What is the definition of open source code? It's code somebody's developed, put it on the market for anybody to freely use. If ClickFunnels software uses any remote,
right. And I'm definitely not an expert in this, but my partner Sergio has taught me a lot about open source code licensing and MIT licenses. There's like a certain stipulation. You can use it for all kinds of things and you don't have to pay any licensing fees or anything like that, but there's still like restrictions. I can't remember the exact restrictions, but it's almost like can use it, but if you get to a certain point, like you have to make it your own or something. I can't remember the exact stipulation. And I want to ask you a question though, because that kind of blew my mind when you said you can't patent software. And so that is intriguing to me because I always thought you could patent software, but what if you don't have hardware behind it? What do you do? Do you copyright? Is it IP? Is it like, what are you trying to protect and how do you protect it if it's just software?
I mean, if you can't necessarily go like your traditional routes, trademarks is more like a branding thing. Like copyright's more like of stuff like that, the writing aspect of it. If you can't patent because it doesn't fall within a statutory class of what you are able to patent, your fallback is always trade secrets. Think about Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Nobody knew the formula to Coca-Cola for a long time. They kept it as a trade secret. They had no intentions of ever filing a patent on their process of how they made Coke because it was more valuable to them keeping it as a trade secret than letting everybody else in the public know about it.
That
So
makes a lot of sense. So
similar
like
concept. You
keeping
got
your
to pick and
code,
choose what you want to do. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
keeping your code close to your chest, private, so that nobody actually sees it. So then it's a trade secret as opposed to copywritten.
Plus,
Yeah.
what you
And
mentioned there is
there's some
like,
innovating code out there in the world that people have written that they've never tied to
Revealed.
hardware, software, some tied it to hardware and gotten a patent for it because what they do or some sort of like processing mechanism or method they use is very unique. It
Yeah.
happens all the time. It's just people. But Andrew, much as I know, and Sergio knows this as well, people minds in the development world, they're like on a whole nother level. Some of these people you talk to,
Yeah.
they're like 30 steps ahead in like the world of like technology. They're already
Yeah.
figuring out how they can code something to do particular execution or an operation. Like it's wild what
Yeah.
some of these people do. So if you don't patent it or something like that, like the odds are you're just going to be eaten up anyways. And it's you're trying
Or
to see anyway.
or fail because you're building up too much technical debt. That's something Sergio always mentions. We were future proofing Chat HQ. That's what our goal was, to future proof it. So like building structures and architecture that kept us viable and competitive and not broken in 10 years in the future. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but
I
this whole thing, them and the whole web-based platform is wild in my personal
Yeah.
opinion. It's,
hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the whole deal with using the trademark, the sign, the TM, but like just putting it like as a marketing thing, like on headlines and stuff?
100% a market thing. There's absolutely no protection with the term, with the using TM. Absolutely not. You need the little circle with the R in it saying it's registered for you to get any
Gotcha.
value. If you're just like,
What's
But
what
can
stamping it, I'm using this.
but it's
yeah,
not gonna
what's
get
the
you. Can you do that? Is it gonna get you in trouble?
I don't think
No.
so.
what's the
That's why.
viability behind apparently Sergio had told me if you use TM publicly for at least a year, that gives you some sort of right in court or arbitration when it comes to defending the concept of that TM or something like that. Is
There's
that
this concept
viable?
called common law trademark. And then common law
That's
trademark
what it
comes
is.
up
Yep.
with people that use things like that. Or let's say you have a national barbecue restaurant chain, for example, that uses some unique name, but then there's some local barbecue place in Texas uses the same name, but they were established way before this big franchise was established, right? They would have
Mhm.
common law like priority over that name for whatever that geographic area is. Most likely these things end up being like settlement agreements where like the bigger franchise will make a settlement agreement saying you can use our name within your geographic area, but not outside that. But and then the franchise will just obviously go gun ho because that smaller establishment's never going to use that trademark in a broader
Yeah.
environment, in a sense, right? So yeah, there is a thing called common law, but at the end of the day, the common law trademark thing is always a fallback argument in court.
Yeah.
Like the
Didn't Meta do that?
punch is always getting the R.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So
Didn't Meta do something like that when they tried to go to Meta and some guy he had like owned meta.com or something like that. He owned a trademark on Meta and like Facebook had to buy him out. I know that happens with websites all the time, like .coms, or it did
yeah,
for a long time. And now they can make an argument like if you own something that's a .com that is like a business, like a corporation, there's some sort of, maybe I'm wrong. I've heard this somewhere in a conversation where they have some sort of right over that. Like you can't hold them hostage or anything anymore. You can't do blackmail for that .com. But I
yeah.
know Meta had to do something like that where they had to buy Meta from some guy in like Arizona or some shit.
You still have to buy the domain from somebody. But yeah, there's actually proceedings outside of regular court, like the ICANN does or WIPO does regarding like domains and
Yeah.
actually higher brand value brands like Prada, like your Gucci's, like those big brands.
Mhm.
They go after Chinese websites all the time to take down fraudulent websites. And then what
Yeah.
happens is they file a claim in WIPO saying that they're infringing on your trademark, that domain is infringing on the trademark, and then they eventually get that domain taken down and transferred to Prada or Gucci or whatever it is. So
Right.
there's a procedure where if another website's infringing on your trademark, you can file a proceeding to get that domain transferred to you and taken down, essentially, if they don't
Yeah.
comply.
I wonder how hard
So
that
like
is to do
this
to like a
happens. This is a good example
Chinese.
for me is like I own golawhustle.com. There's
Uh-huh.
another company out there that owns lawhustle.com on sale, right? But if he ever puts, let's say, a marketing-based website or something related to law firms on that website, and I own a trademark for Law Hustle, I'm gonna immediately file it and get the domain
Yeah.
sent to me.
Does that mean you
Yeah.
still have to pay him out for it?
Huh?
Does that mean you still have to pay for it? For the
I don't know actually what the outcome is at. I don't really know what the outcome is at. I know that if it's infringement, I think it's just an automatic transfer, but obviously you got to pay for your legal fees. So what's the cost? Buying the domain or the legal fees? You know what I mean? So you got to
Yeah.
pick your, the bigger companies, they don't care. They're just like, oh yeah, send it to outside counsel. We'll take care of it for you.
All right,
They'll run up the bill. They don't care.
so we talked a little bit about this when we started talking about the lawsuit. To put people's minds at ease, there's nothing to worry about on their end, right? What do you see happening potentially from this? I know that you mentioned in the chat or either in a Facebook thread or in our private Facebook chat with everyone that it might actually end up being that ClickFunnels will need to change their patent because it's too broad. It's covering too many things. And when they've unearthed that in court, they'll find out that it's not actually a legal patent that they can withhold and it'll stand up in court. It said something like that. I can't remember, not to that extent, but
Yeah.
I'm just articulating.
Yeah, I'll break it down for you. So I'll give you obviously every litigation situation is different. There's going to be probably two big law firms fighting against each other about this whole thing, like
Mhm.
seasoned IP litigators that I'm not, obviously. But in general, with somebody files a litigation as it relates to patent infringement, the first thing that usually happens is the person who's being obviously had the complaint filed against them is going to check the validity of the patents themselves, right? That's step number one. And if they think that the patents, they're not infringing on those patents because those patents should be eventually like invalid, like they should never have been granted in the first place. You can stay litigation. So you can tell the court saying, hey, we need to hold on this litigation real quick. I'm going to file an ex parte proceeding with the US Patent and Trademark Office, where it's a whole nother court system. And GHL HighLevel is going to be the petitioner and go after ClickFunnels two patents that they say that they're infringing on and say that they're invalid. So what's
Mm.
probably going to happen and what's going to transpire is litigation is going to be stayed. So it's just going to be put on hold. High Level is going to file an ex parte proceeding with the US Patent and Trademark Office to say that those two patents should never been granted in the first place. They're going to fight it out in patent court, essentially, is what they're going to do. And then the judges will decide whether those claims or whatever is in those patents is valid or not. So the outcome of this could be essentially two things. It's they're going to go do this and ClickFunnels is going to lose a bunch of money on legal fees, and they may have two patents that they got that are going to be completely invalidated.
Yeah.
Time could tell. Everybody's arguments of what they have to do or like what is novel or not novel at that period of time. I'm just looking at it at face value.
Yep.
Novel at that period of time. If I was building a full-on website in Squarespace in 2018 or 2016, or this also relates to was WooForm, like Woofu Form? Is that another one out there? Or
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a
how's that
few of
any
those
different
that
than
were
that? You take those, or Gravity Form. Gravity Form is the same way.
gravity
You would
forms.
take
Yeah.
those things, you would build a form, you would build logic into it based on the
Yep.
answers. It would direct you to different pages that you could iframe into a website. So how's that any
Yeah.
different too? So anyways, there's lots of things that like could potentially be brought up on this whole situation. But so ClickFunnels could have both of their patents invalidated, and then they'll walk out of this with a drained bank account from their legal fees and also
Yep.
no patents. But if they uphold the claims over there, then it may go back to litigation and they'll go back in that proceeding because they'll say, okay, these are good. Now we're going to go back to litigation and then they're going to do the whole litigation thing. But at the end of the day, this is going to be a very long and drawn out process unless they get
Mhm.
to some sort of settlement agreement in the middle that's advantageous for both ends. But that's how
I
it's
mean,
going to
could
long
high
time from
level,
now.
yeah, could high level walk away with this with a countersuit and say like damages, things like that, like where they're like not slandering them, but almost defacing or what is that? Defaming. It's there's
I mean,
slander and then
everybody has the
there's
right to raise a legitimate complaint, right?
yeah,
If the complaint was invalid in the first place, you probably can get it out. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, everybody has the right to file. That's what we live in this country is, right? You have the right to do whatever you want, so long as it's valid on its face, filing a complaint. So
right.
they don't get me wrong. ClickFunnels has every right to do this. And if you look at their patents and how they're written, I'm like, yeah, they do. They have some sort of like claim that at least can be litigated on the issue. But I think what's going to happen is they're going to go to the USPTO. It's going to be a whole nother procedure and they're going to try to validate those claims, validate those patents and those claims.
Yeah.
And if that happens, then obviously the litigation is essentially just given up. It's done. Right.
Yeah. So that's
So
what I'm at, Chris. That's what I'm saying is like if that happens, could high level just countersue? Would they have a legitimate case to countersue? Of course they could countersue, but they can come back and say ClickFunnels publicly, like all these things happened and they tried to make it seem like we stole something from them and that's almost defamation in a way or right? Like of their brand and their character. No?
I don't know. I think it
Yeah.
would be more of an expert in that realm. I have no idea what it was, but
Yeah.
I do know that their ex parte proceeding that they're going to probably initiate, I would assume, is like their countersuit. Because I think
Yeah.
you probably can even get attorney fees out of it, right? If
Right.
ClickFunnels, for example, loses, maybe they can get attorney fees out of it. I don't really know if that's a thing in ex parte. I don't really know. I don't do the litigation side of stuff. I do more of the prosecution stuff, getting people patents versus that. I just know how the
Right.
procedure works because I do it every day. I see it every day. But yeah, they probably can get their attorney fees back, I would assume. But
Yeah, it makes sense.
yeah, it's going to be an interesting handful of years going forward to see what happens, really.
Here's
Yeah.
what I'm interested in. Like, why now are they doing it? Because
I can answer that.
they had a really bad, like, they really failed miserably with the relaunch of ClickFunnels 2.0, and I've got a feeling that they really falling behind the eight ball. High levels getting up above, and could be
That's
that.
why you just answer your own question, bro. And then the whole tape of Russell Brunson allegedly striking that teenager in that high school thing. They're going through a lot of shit. So of course they're going to say, who's the number one person taking all of our business? It's high level. And so there's that concept of like, how do we stop the bleeding? Is it a band-aid? Is it sutures? Is it something that we can walk away from better than we were before, like a mended bone? Or are we just doing this throwing darts and seeing what sticks? Throwing shit at the wall, I guess I'd say.
This is totally like a spaghetti at the wall situation, like
Yeah.
last ditch effort, I think. And I think that they probably have the resources to go through litigation on this, right? Because obviously, because it's not a small business. So yeah, I think high level is tapping into a lot of their, and people are transitioning over and they're seeing it on their balance sheets. And this is the only potential aspect they have to go after it. And then maybe they're bringing up this whole import your ClickFunnels thing now. But
Yeah.
that still goes back to the same thing I just talked about earlier. Like their code was exposed. So if you wanted to go in, and Sergio knows this, and I know this, and you probably know this too. If you really wanted to build something to scrape a page and kind of make it your own, like anybody can
Yep.
do it. I'm not saying anybody. I'm just saying like, you could do it and develop your
Right.
perspective. So what Sean and Barun did to import ClickFunnels thing is no different. And how is that any different than the whole hack the funnel? Just give it. Didn't ClickFunnels
Exactly.
have the same thing? Where you can just give it a URL and then it would copy the funnel over into your account.
Yep. And you know what
Exactly.
it
How do you
reminds
know
me
that?
of? It's like a McDonald's moving in across the street from a Burger King, right? Where it's like anyone can do that, and you can just build a McDonald's across the street from Burger King. You can't say that doing that is the reason why you're losing business. They're just better at bringing people in, right? It's like they got the Burger King did something like the Big Mac. It was like the Big Mac, but it was the King BK or some bullshit like that. It's they do people do this stuff all the time. They're funnel hacking everyone else. So it's like the concept here is like you said, throwing spaghetti at the wall, and they're just trying to fucking stop the bleeding and figure out how to compete in a world where high level is moving at 100 miles an hour and they're slowing down. Like their car is sputtering, right? Where they were moving at
Oh,
100 miles an hour for a decade. They were the number one dog in the market.
I
So,
I even heard stories. Somebody, I don't know if it was when I was at the summit, but somebody said to me, a few people, different people, told me that they were part of the ClickFunnel community and they were going to these events. And more recently, whenever they go, they actually don't even bother changing the shirt. They just go there with a high level T-shirt and just getting like people
no
converted to high
way,
level.
dude.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
It's fun.
That's awesome.
'Cause that's
Yeah, I know.
ridiculous.
There's a lot of stories about ClickFunnels events and how they're not as good, and they try to like make them better by only showing the stage and like the big like CD or whatever vinyl, gold vinyl, silver
Yeah.
vinyl, all that stuff. And it's the concept of if you're not doing something well enough, somebody will do it better than you. If you
Yeah.
stop putting effort into something, somebody will overtake what you're doing because what you're doing is lucrative enough, it's attractive enough to a large enough set of people, a demographic or base of people. And if you stop, if you slow down, you will eventually get passed up, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
basic business at that point.
Has there ever been any public record of or anybody say what the valuation of ClickFunnels actually is? I'm just curious.
Not
If
that
anybody
I'm,
seen a number because
well,
it's
I
an
haven't heard
LLC,
anything.
so it's probably hidden behind closed door. Nobody's really gonna know the valuation of that company. But I was just thinking about this the other night when I was like going to sleep, and I was like thinking about this litigation. I was like, you know what? Why now? Why would they do it? And I was just thinking in my head, I was like, could it be a ploy for them to reach some sort of like table where they can have a discussion where maybe since GHL is starting to get really big that they could buy out the software aspect of ClickFunnels and like ClickFunnels just
Ooh.
maybe like focus buy out the
Oh,
software aspect of my coaching stuff. See, I don't think Sean and Brune would ever buy that platform from them.
So
there's,
here's
there's,
where I'm,
There's
where
many
that
angles
makes
there.
sense. Yeah, where that makes a lot of sense to me is the customer base, right? So the software, they probably don't need it, but if you think about the time in which it's going to take high level to actually get all of ClickFunnels customers to switch over, might first of all, it might not you might not get 100%. Odds are you will not get 100%, right? The second thing is it's going to take time. So if you're calculating the time value of that customer base and you're saying, is it better for us to pay for it now and try to get an ROI over the course of the next 2 years, or try to get more people over the next 2 years and have to pay for marketing and sales and content and all that stuff? Like maybe that is what they're doing, is presenting this as a sale and saying, we already know you're going to take us down. So why not just
Yeah.
buy it out? They now have a ton of VC back, and they got that additional VC that helped. Who do they help? Uber and a couple other big names go IPO or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the money is there. They could easily buy ClickFunnels. I don't know what their valuation is, but
I
I doubt it would be a difficult thing.
You
I mean,
reckon
this is
they're?
just
I'd still think that ClickFunnels is more like valuable company than high level, or maybe they've got maybe okay. Hang on, not maybe not valuable, but I think they still make more money.
yeah, I think so
Y
too. I think so too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too, but you gotta think about how, and this is something I'm learning about as well, how companies are how they're valuated. And so if ClickFunnels was going like this for a decade and now they're going like this, like that stagnation/decline is magnified over a 5 to 10-year period. So the valuation instantly changes. So yeah, they're making
Mm.
more money now, but in 5 years, they will not be, especially if
Plus,
that is a consistent course.
But you also
plus,
have to consider the fact that number that their valuation number is not 100% truly. I think
Right.
they have masterminds that people pay a absorbent amount of money to be like in Russell Brunson's inner circle. So like how much of that money and valuation of that company is their SaaS, that's their actual software themselves,
Right.
or all the other coaching aspects that they put into that as well. Because I don't really know if their mastermind is under the same LLC that this lawsuit was filed under, obviously, but I like to know that question. So maybe they're just trying to part with that aspect of their business or trying to find a way to come to the discussion table to have that work. I don't know. There's so many different ways that this could be diced up essentially
Yeah.
in the future.
here's what I think. I think it's what you just said, masterminds and all that. Hype money. Like back then, Russell Branson was the big name. So it was all based on hype. And I think that hype has gone down, way down. So
Yeah.
I honestly think I'm not Russell Brunson and I don't have the resources he does, but if I thought about this in a logistical way, this is like a shotgun idea. I would take my user base, I would bring them all I would use my resources to bring them all over to high level as an affiliate, rebuild all their funnels and all your loyalty over into high level. You get the
Uh,
affiliate commission on it, so you get some sort of the money out of all those accounts that have been transferred over. And two, double down on your mastermind. And now
yep.
you have an entire community of GHL people that you can bring into your high ticket, be
Mastermind.
buddy with Russell Brunson club.
Yeah. Man, maybe that's gonna be an offer from high level side. Be like, hey, we have a 40% affiliate program, but you want to focus on your mastermind, but you could be a big name in the GHL community. And the fact that you're bridging the gap, you're building the bridge in a land that has a giant river running through it. So you building that bridge shows good faith, it shows character, it shows integrity, like all kinds of things that if people just left ClickFunnels, they wouldn't look back. They wouldn't go, "Oh yeah, Russell Brunson deserves my money." But if he did this, maybe they do and go, "That's somebody I want to learn from, somebody I want to build a
Yeah.
business around."
Yeah,
smart
for
thing.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean,
Yeah.
if you really think about it, I mean, ClickFunnels is like this software piece that he used to fuel. But at the core of what Russell is, he's a guy who coaches. He's a guy
Yeah.
who tells you how to do it, how to make the money, how to make this work, how the flow should be in a funnel, right? He just has a tool to help you do it. So his most of his values in him and himself and his brand and his coaching and in his philosophy and at making the most money possible online by selling potato guns. I don't really know what he's selling now, but I'm just saying
Hey.
the point I'm trying to make is that's him. So if he got rid of that small piece of his business, handed it over to high level, took the affiliate commission on it, and then doubled down with the entire GHL community to be like, hey, I'm the go-to mastermind for GHL now. I am the guy that you should like from beginning to end. I will show you how to make the most money possible online. I think that'd be really well for him. My first opinion.
And I think
Yeah.
it'd be
Can you
great
imagine
for
him?
the community because just like I said, I can't think of anybody in a high level community that is like specifically really doubling down on like helping people build funnels. There isn't
Mhm.
anybody.
There's a lot. Listen, you got your Rob Bailey's, Matt DeSanto has mastermind coaching. You got
No, I
all
don't. Rob Bailey doesn't coach funnels. It's more about a
yeah, but
database like
it's
that.
funnels is part of it, dude. Funnels is always a part of it when it comes to high level. And what I mean by coaching and maybe not specifically funnels is these are the big names in high level. And they're always the one that everyone gravitates towards, like those names. And so Russell coming in, like he's the most successful out of anyone that would be coaching, but B, him teaming up with people like Rob Bailey, Matt DeSanto, Beyond from Extendly, like those people using and leveraging Russell Brunson as who he is, and then Russell Brunson using and leveraging them as who they are in the high level community, that's dangerous, dude. That is a crazy storm waiting to happen that people will pay fucking tons of money for to be a part of,
Oh yeah, I agree.
right?
It's
Can
like
you
That's wild.
imagine, like, in a year from now, like, we have an episode and we have Rob Bailey. Rob
Brunson?
Bailey is supposed to be on tonight with us,
No,
you know?
he wasn't gonna be able to make it tonight, but he was very interested in this episode. So we may have a Rob Bailey pitch in here somewhere, and he may be distributing this episode to help us spread the good word. But no, yeah, we will get him on and other people
Yeah,
like him
he's a
as
good
well.
man.
But
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Hey,
I mean, it
guys,
really comes down to the value of ClickFunnels, right? What's that value to him and his on his balance sheet? What does it look like? Because
yeah,
if the path least resistant, it maybe just be like, yeah, maybe it's cheaper just to let it go, not pay legal fees, hop on the GHL bandwagon and double down and make a ton of
yeah.
money. And I honestly think he could do it for sure.
depends on the ego. How
I
big is
think
his
so too.
ego?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's what is it want to hold on to his baby? I don't he's just trying to hold on and this litigation is essentially that. He's trying to hold on to that and
Yeah.
have
yeah,
some sort of leverage in the market still. But in my personal opinion, ClickFunnels is not his leverage. It's him and his
exactly.
brand, and his coaching.
Which is
It's
what
not the
sold his
software.
books, right? He has those
Yeah,
funnel hacking books and all that stuff. That's what sold the books. His name, his face, his
yeah.
ideas. Okay, so that helps put my mind at ease being part of the community, right? Like understanding that we're not going to get the rug swept out from under us. We're going to have a little bit more time to understand all this and what's happening and what's going to happen. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing, Chris. Kick ass legal, right? SaaS, kick ass legal,
It's
kick ass.
exactly.
Yeah. Kicks ass legal,
See,
right? You told me about this a while ago when you were on a call with me about Chat HQ. You told me about this and you showed me a little bit about it. And it's amazing, right? Because we actually, I reached out to you a few weeks ago. Me and Vit were going to get you on here just for that reason, because people are building companies around high level on top of high level and they don't have that type of legal leverage. They're confused. They don't understand their legal processes or what they can or can't do, and right, what's legal, what's not legal to do. And the fact that you have an all-in-one package, or you have these done for you templates and this like basically just click and submit SaaS that allows people to leverage those things is fantastic. So can you tell us more about that?
this kind of was all born out of the fact that there's everybody in this like they want to build their own SaaS company or they want to put it as an extension or a bolt on to their marketing services or whatever it is. So a lot of people are jumping in, trying to get their hands in the pot and make that money, make some money for themselves and their agencies. But the biggest thing that I see in the community, and I just get drowned with messages all the time, is like, do you know somebody that does terms of use? Do you know about somebody that can write a privacy policy? Somebody that can do a cookie policy? Like all these things that like you need to have in place to have a valid like SaaS company up and running. Like you got to have terms of use that clearly defines what you're offering, the services you provide, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what happens upon termination, like data retention, all these things that you need to have, or not just like GHL SaaS, but like any SaaS in general, you need to have some sort of terms of use. But
Yeah.
the shotgun method of most of these people is they go, I'm just going to go to Zapier's website. I'm going to cut and paste their terms. I'm going to slap it in here and change some names around. And all of a sudden, okay, good. I got one, right? That doesn't apply to what you offer at all, or like the services you provide, right? So that's the biggest thing that I see these people in the community is like, they want to come in and they want to build a business and build a brand and build it up, but then they don't have the foundational things that they need to put in place to make sure when they actually get to the point where some people are noticing them, that they've at least protected themselves or shielded themselves from some liability. And that could even
Yeah.
go back to something stupid, simple, like I started a business as a sole, as an individual, right? I never started a company or LLC. Like dumb, put a company between you and your personal assets to make sure that you're not
Yeah.
exposing your house or your kids or whatever the heck you're doing on the back end. So if somebody sues you, you're not losing your home, essentially, right? So there's all these
Mhm.
things that just people don't understand, right?
Yeah.
And the result of this is they don't know they need it. That's one thing, right? Two is that okay, I do know I need it, but I can't afford to hire an attorney because I'm just starting my business. I'm trying to make this thing work, right? So that's where this whole thing comes into place. I have Kicksass Legal. It's literally a website you can come to. I am actually one of you guys. I have 2 SaaS companies. I know exactly what is needed, right? I have all the templates there. You can just go buy flat fee legal services and just buy the templates you need and put them into place. And I make them stupid simple. Like you just fill in the apps, follow the notes that I have on the document, fill in all the things you need, and then boom, you have a terms and use. Boom, you have a privacy policy. Boom, you have a cookie policy. Or if you're an agency owner, you have a master service agreement or an
Yeah.
independent contract agreement or an NDA. And I just want to make it easy for people. So that's why I made that store, is because I wanted people to have, it's written by me, an attorney, right? And it's
Mhm.
honest legal services that are flat fees. The number one thing, and maybe you know this, Andrew, or any of you would know this, right? When you call an attorney, everybody's all afraid of what's going to happen after. Am I going to get a
Mm.
bill? How big is the bill
Yep.
going to be? Like nobody
Yep.
knows. It's all elusive. Nobody really knows what's going to happen with at that race. Mine's just straightforward, straight up. Like this template's this. It costs this much money. If you want me
Dude.
to review a contract and it's 1 to 10 pages, it's this much money. Like I'll
Yeah.
straight up tell you when I'm going to charge you, and it's a place for the community, not only the GHL community, but also like the digital business community in general. Even if you
Yeah.
coach or like you do consulting, like I have probably agreements in there you probably can use for things. I just want to make life easier instead of having to like, trust me, I used to work for a really big law firm and they want you to bill for everything. I can't justify the fact of billing somebody $500 for a 15-minute email. Drives me
Yeah.
nuts. I don't
So
do things
so
like that.
a few things. So on that subject, when I went and got my first business lawyer, it was not a free consultation, but it was like 150 or $450 retainer, and that first consultation was included in that. And then what I had to do something like, it was like in the movies, give me $1. And then I gave him $1. He's like, all right, now I can give you legal advice. I swear to God, this guy was like 80 years old. He actually passed away a few years ago. But yeah, it was crazy. So that you're 100% right. Like it's way too much money, way too much like energy and time and effort for a phone call or an email. Like I'm getting dinged and nickel and dime for everything. The
Yep.
second thing is, did you build your website on high level? Because I'm on kicksasslegal.com and I'm checking it out. And I know they got like the store stuff now and they got all that stuff. But I do really, I'm like a weird nerd with design. I've always been a weird
Yeah.
nerd with like website design. You can see that like on
Yeah.
JHU's website. But I love what you've done with it. But I'm curious, especially with that slide out cart and stuff. Did you have it custom
Mhm.
coded using high level as a foundation?
I'm going to be honest. This is totally not built on high level. It's built on
Okay.
Shopify. But
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Makes sense.
leverage it with EHL to do a lot of the stuff that we're doing, obviously, because
Yeah.
GHL has Shopify integration, right?
Yep.
But built on Shopify, because Shopify is the easiest place to build a store like an e-commerce store. And that's essentially what this
Yeah.
essentially is. It's come into. So I'll do trademark services. I'll do responses to obfuscation of trademarks and a la carte or package services or bundles or whatever it is. And you can just come there and I'll tell you the price, purchase it, and then you'll get it. It's clear.
So
I just try to make it easy for people.
third thing, have you ever thought about offering this as a white label service for SaaS agencies to sell to their customers? So if I have a carpenter or a hair salon or a coach under me that's paying me for my SaaS, now I have these white label software trademark legal packages that I can sell them and go, you need this. You don't have anything in place. Is that something that you're thinking about doing?
This is so common, by the way. I build
No,
websites
but
for
I
and
would
they
totally do
all
it.
the
All I
like
gotta do is just slap out a logo to something else, and all of a sudden you're giving your end user a template,
yeah,
essentially.
Yeah.
small local
It's
businesses all the time. Like I ask them, hey, do you have a
Yep.
terms policy and privacy policy? At least those. No.
So Chris,
yes.
I'm gonna need 25% equity in that, and no, I'm gonna
Are you gonna come in
hey,
and manage the whole fight and make this all works or what?
I know a really good trademark, patent, and IP attorney that I'll give you his number. He's a good guy.
Hey, I've got a question. So I build all my legal like stuff for my SaaS through this another platform. I'm not gonna name them, but it's more like a subscription service. And whatever option, whether you guys go with, my big thing is like being current, cover my ass, but I don't want to think about it. So
Mhm.
how do you handle that? So I know you can get your template and you just fill in the blanks and you slap in the website and then you're good to go. But I know that I've been getting emails maybe every 3 months or something from this other company that I
Like
use, from this other vendor.
state-based changes and
And
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, to do with privacy policy, yeah, mostly. And it's
Yeah.
no action required, and they just push it into my website because it's an HTML embed.
Yeah, there's a lot of services out there that are just like HTML embeds, and they just automatically push it in there, and
Mhm.
they comply with a lot of the laws as well. But even in those, I would say there's like many levels of this. Do it yourself, try to figure it out, or have chat GPT. Then there's have chat GPT write me something, which I do not advise at all.
Mm.
You ever seen this stuff? And then
Yeah.
there's like the template software programs like Termly and things like that, or you can fill in the gaps and I'll give you like some sort of, but those are really broad, right? They apply to a
Mhm.
lot. And then there's like a step above that, which is like where I fall in, where like they're more legal
Niche
based, they're written by
specific.
me, by an attorney. It
Right.
covers a little more specific. And then there's the last step, which is like hiring an attorney, have them make you a custom one yourself. So like
Yeah.
if you had that threshold, I'm at the top,
Yeah.
but not quite the exorbitant fee of an attorney.
Bro, you should
So
have that
that's
on
but
your
yes, and,
website.
and
You
template wise
should
though,
Chris,
I
you
was going
should
to say
legit
that
have
template
that
wise,
table, that timeline on your website. Like that what
yeah,
you
that
just described, that would be an amazing sales tool for on like the homepage. Be like, you don't want to do it yourself. You this, and then here's Termly and these other guys. Sure, you can go with them, but it's not niche specific. And then you're here, and then you're like, or pay $10,000 to an attorney. I mean, that's a conversion waiting to happen, bro. We're gonna
it just
talk,
came up
man. We're gonna
right now.
talk.
but yeah,
Uh,
I'll let you finish the answer to that question actually in terms of being current. How do you
Yeah. In terms of being current though, yeah, right now, the templates as they are sitting in there right now, they cover all the most recent stuff. Obviously there's some unique things from state to state. So you should always have your local attorney look at this stuff too, if you want to do it as well. But this should get you 95%, 98% close to the end result. Majority of the stuff is standard, right? Because e-commerce, for example, or websites, it's interstate commerce. Like the laws and regulations and privacy are like the same stuff like
Yeah.
from state to state. But yeah, if something changes, I update my template. So like the new version of the template would be available on the site. And actually, I haven't even put this in place because there hasn't been a really big shift since I think just recently, like Utah or Colorado or some other state had some extra privacy stuff that I need to put into my stuff. But I think I'm just going to offer, like if you buy the template, for example, if there's an update to a template, it would just blast email everybody and be like, hey, there's an update to the law. Here's a new template. Here's a new template. Just upgrade your template for $15, like $10. It's stupid, right? Just to accommodate the time
Yep.
or something like that. And then
Listen,
that would kind of
SaaS
be the way I
Master
want to think about it.
Chris, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna give you another good idea, bro. Do
Just
a
come in and
package.
just roll with me and help me do it or
I
what?
will, I will, dude. Yeah, I'll be your fractional CMO product guy. Let's do it, bro. Seriously though, do a bundle where it's slightly reduced prices on the contracts and you pay a small monthly fee. There's your subscription-based renewal fee, right? Your MRR. And now you got people that they don't have to worry about any of that shit and it just automatically updates for them and they're
Like
paying 20
bucks,
bucks a month.
like $5 a month.
that's what I like
Yeah,
about
like
Termly.
19 bucks. Yeah.
So
Right.
if you can compete, make it. We take the Termly model, but the problem was they were too broad. Like you said, they're too broad. We took that model, but we're more niche specific. See, I'll be jumping on that. I'll be switching. Yeah, yeah.
Great.
So I've got
Yeah.
an idea here because, like, you could totally have custom fields, right? You got a sub account for SaaS Kickstarts, right? People who sign up for this, they just fill in a form, and those populate in those custom fields, and then you inject those custom fields into. I was gonna say AI prompt, doesn't need to be. You just inject it into the document, so whenever you make an update, they just get like the ready to go, and then you could probably, with a programmer, make the whole HTML injection thing.
Funny, I had a discussion with my developers that helped me build Compfox because it's like a AI based legal research tool that we built for our industry. I've already talked to them about this. I'm like, can we build something that does X, Y, Z? Was exactly similar to what you're talking about here, where it just automatically does the document for you. And then,
Yeah.
anyways, yeah.
I love this
So-
shit. That's the thing I do. I really love building snapshots. And
Yes, I
going
was just gonna
crazy with
say
it.
this is crazy good with snapshots. And I'm not kidding.
So here's a segue. You were talking about like patents and how they like have their lifetime, like 20 years, and I think that differs. But have you guys heard about that? Disney's Mickey Mouse is now up for grabs.
No.
Like the really?
Like somebody
Yep.
can buy it.
No, you can do whatever the fuck you want with Mickey.
It's like a drug
Really?
going from patented to building generics. You just build generic Mickey Mouses.
You can take Mickey Mouse and just use
I've
that
never
same,
looked into this.
the
Is there
same
actually a
style and
patent?
just put him into whatever you want.
Whoa.
And it's a big thing. They have this 100 years thing, and that just ran out. Like it was last year. It was in news.
Wow.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse is
Well,
up for
what was
grabs.
it?
You can use it in your marketing. You can whatever the fuck you
What
want.
was
Yeah.
it protecting under though? Because I know before they would always like leverage the whole trademark or they trademark Disney characters.
They kept extending that trademark.
Mm.
There was a few extensions of it. Mickey Mouse.
I wonder why they stopped or if they had to stop at some point.
Yeah, it is.
In use of it, you should be able to just continue on. I've never heard of
Yeah.
trademark having an expiration date ever. Like you just keep, as long as you're using it in commerce, like you can use it.
Yeah, so there's a few articles. Mickey Mouse, arguably one of the most iconic cartoon characters of all time, will be entering the public domain when the film's copyright expires in 24. Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow.
I'll definitely think about maybe using it in my marketing in some way, have fun with it.
I wonder if they made variations of it though since then, like, Mickey, like the old ones, you see like the 19 whatever commercials, like the old ones.
There are some caveats.
Oh, maybe
There are, yeah.
that Mickey is up for grabs. That old stick fucking
Yeah.
weird looking Mickey,
Yeah.
and now the new one's still protected. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not a copyright attorney. I don't know this stuff. I know it falls in my realm of like intellectual property stuff, but that's not my cup of tea. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
hardware and software is my thing. Like I just talk dev
Yeah.
nerd stuff.
Yeah.
Which, dude, when you told me about Kicksass a while ago, I was still use Termly, but like now I'm probably gonna be launching my high level SaaS soon just for some side money and stuff because it's so damn easy now. When I say
Yeah.
easy, it's like since we've been around, me and you've been in high level, it was a
Yeah.
fucking mess and there was no SaaS mode, there was no this. Now you got Vit over here building snapshots, you got Extendly, you got white label suite, and it's like money in, go get customers, you're done.
Yeah. And you just
right?
go after one small niche and it's just finally
Yeah.
tuned. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. With that being said, anyone that's listening to this could benefit fucking so much from those templates, from those bundles that you're selling, dude. And
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea because a lot of these people aren't experts in any way, shape, or form in legal. Not even close. Like someone like me, I've been doing this for 15 years and I don't know the fucking first thing about whether I'm going to get sued for something or not. Like I could do the wrong thing and get sued, and then I'm kicking myself because I didn't spend $500 on something that could have protected me. And I know it wouldn't fully protect. I'm just saying, like in general, like knowing the realm that you're entering, like having a map and then taking the route and the journey instead of just blindly going through it. Because
If I can give you any words of wisdom or advice for anybody who's listening to this about if they're thinking about starting a GHL SaaS, you should really just put your ducks in the row and just fall in this order, if that makes sense. Form a business. If you have a business with somebody else, have an operating agreement. So it clearly defines who's has the voting power, all sort of stuff, what the the obligations are of the business and like what the objectives are. Like start a business. Put something between you and your personal assets. Theoretically, the easiest thing to do is make an LLC. Don't make a sole proprietorship, make an LLC, right? Put something between your personal assets and your business. That way, if your business goes belly up, LLC just goes away, and then all of a sudden you still got your house. Essentially, is what it really comes down to. Right? Build a business. If you have it with other people or even yourself, you should have an operating agreement. So like you clearly define what the structure of the business is, right? And then after that is what are you going to be selling? What are you going to be offering? And then make sure you have things in place for those. For example, like your terms of use for your SaaS, like your privacy policy, your cookie policy. If you're going to offer agency services on top of your SaaS as a side thing, make sure you have a master service agreement because your terms of use is not going to cover some things like website building, for example, right? You can have a separate master service agreement of what that's right. And all those templates are in Kicksass Legal. You can just download them and buy them and they're there for you to modify. Another big one that I see people do all the time is they hire VAs, they hire people in the community, whatever it is, and they let people into their SaaS without putting proper documentation in place. And all of a sudden, it goes right out the door.
You know how many emails I get?
All the time.
Yeah, you know how many emails I get from people's high levels that I'm an admin in because I had to be an admin for something for ChatHQ or something for my, like, whether I'm doing marketing services. And I'm just getting all these emails, dude, can you I tell them all the time, cut me out, get me out of there. I'm not doing any work in there. That is a huge liability. Huge liability.
For them, yeah, because they get
And also it affects the industry as well. If you're going to let
they're
somebody
exposing contacts to me for hundreds of sub accounts, like that's cool.
If you're going to let a contractor or somebody in your system, there's two things that I honestly think. If they're an employee, it's different because they fall more of the employment realm.
Yeah.
But if they're like a contractor, put an independent contractor agreement in place that talks about all the stuff, like what they're due, what they're not, what's supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do. A confidentiality clause in there as well, just basic. But in addition to that, have everybody sign an NDA. I have everybody. I don't care who you are. If you're going to have a login to Law Hustle, you are signing an NDA, not necessarily my clients because they fall under the terms of use. I'm talking about people that come in and do work for me or do extra stuff for our clients, something like that. I make them sign an NDA because the last thing I want is somebody to see what we do with our snapshot and our AI and all the innovating stuff we do for law firms and then be like, I'm going to build my own and they're going to go do it themselves. I do that for purpose and everybody should do the same.
Everyone listening to this, us three right here, you're going to have a product very soon that Vit's going to help build because he's a snapshot master. Chris is going to help formulate because he's a fucking legal master. And I'm just going to be along for the ride because I am who I am. And so we're going to give you a complete package of NDA and service agreement automation where you want to bring someone in your high level, you click a button, send them a contract, get an e-signature, runs through a workflow, everything happens all in high level. Then they get a log into your high level. Boom.
That's genius,
And
actually.
Yeah.
Really.
Matt DeSano, Ben, if you guys listening, I don't know how it rolls on the extendly side, but I've had my experience with HL Pro Tools because I'm with them. I tell you, there was nothing from their end, and I obviously didn't put anything in place either. There's a gap, and it's a big one because look, one thing is NDA is for your proprietary, like your IP, right? The other thing is it is really the more important one is protection of data, of personal data.
Oh yeah.
Inside
Yeah.
every single sub account are people that have no idea that they opted in for a newsletter, and there are so many of these third party people that have access to this stuff. That is a
Yep.
big thing. And I
Yeah.
think that
Think
could
about
be led to, and overall, like a high level thing overall. That's one thing that, and I had that concern. I even made a post in the group a while back, like a year and a half ago, because I've never heard anybody talking about this stuff, the sensitive
dude.
data and how that's being handled.
Yeah.
I,
Think
I know you can,
about
I know you can pay for HIPAA, but that's more just
for the
for
actual niches, like the doctor niches. Yeah. But think about the liability of, and listen, I'm very good friends with Beyond. Like I would never like put anything like him and Matt DeSano in a bubble and say like it's bad. But what I'm saying is when I don't have any knowledge of when they go into your high level, what they're getting a lot of information and stuff like that. So I don't know what that looks like. And I'm under the assumption because I know Beyond, he's a very like good person. Like I don't think he'd ever do something like that. And I think he would see something that's coming. So maybe in his terms of use, his privacy policy, things like when you purchase his stuff, there's probably something in there that says we can or cannot do this. But the
Yeah.
fact that you don't control that, you're signing stuff that they're writing is also a liability to you. So it would always, and again, this may impede the actual subscription of Extendly or HL Pro Tools. If you were to purchase it and say, hey, I need you guys to sign this, I don't know what that would come to, like if that would change the course of that purchase. But I think it's smart in general. And if that was a very specific use case, whether it's HL Pro Tools, Growthable, Extendly, they don't want to do that. That's your choice. That's your conversation to have. But just bringing someone into your admin, this is an incredibly fragile situation that could backfire easily, right? Like especially a VA, somebody in India that you have no legal course of action against, and you're just letting them in and giving them access to everything. That's insane,
So
right?
get this, right? This is how it works with HL Pro Tools. The first thing they tell you, like when you're onboarding, is give us an agency admin. It has to be an agency admin user role. And then that login is shared. And then how do you know, like, when they are hiring, because they keep on growing, right? These companies keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know? Because it's not dedicated, right? I know they have
I
different
will
plans,
say
but you
this.
might have.
Sorry to interrupt, but I will say this because I've experienced now with Beyond's new Support OS software that he just launched. They connect through the marketplace. And so high level is going to be like a mitigator there, like a middleman. Because when you connect through the marketplace, there is no give us agency access. Nobody from Extendly has agency access into my high level. It's the marketplace app that then has access to the API and has access to everything they need. So that right there
That's probably
tells me
better
that
way to do it.
that's a better way to do it. Yeah. And maybe Matt DeSanto's going in that direction. But the minute you give somebody admin access, you're setting yourself up for failure. But you were saying that.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. How many times in the group have you seen messages come up where somebody says, hey, there's this other person selling the same thing that I do. Like, and it happened to be an event coming from something like that. Just protect yourself, man. Like, put these things in place. If you're, for example, if your NDA, for example, is like just basic and it's bilateral, meaning, hey, I'm not going to share your secrets and you're not going to share my secrets. And it's not unilateral, like meaning like I hold all the cards and you have to do what I say. That situation, if it's mutual, if you all go into every contractual relationship in a mutual beneficial way, the odds are they're going to sign it. Like the odds are they're not going to sign it. When you start puffing your chest and say, I don't agree to these terms, it needs to be this and this, that's when they start like getting defensive, whether they're actually going to proceed with it or not. And NDAs, To be honest, they're like 1, 2-page, 3-page documents at the most, right? I think
Yeah.
ours and our Kick Legal is literally probably like a page and a half, maybe 2 pages at the most.
Yeah.
And we have 2 versions of it. We have a bilateral one and we have a unilateral one. So you would use a unilateral one for, I want to hold the cards. I have more IP than you have to. You're going to show it to me. You're just coming in to do work for me. Bilateral
Yeah.
be like you're bringing in somebody to help build you, like let's say for example an AI agent. They have their own knowledge in AI, but you have your own knowledge in your niche. You're coming together to build something in your snapshot. That would be like
Yeah.
more of a bilateral situation because they're going to expose their secrets to you and you're going to expose your secrets to them. So
Yeah, I don't think I ever told either of you this. Obviously not you, Chris. We don't talk as much as me and Vitu, but when me and Sergio built our white label docs, so our white label knowledge base and white label help guides for high level, it was something we built for ChatHQ a while ago to get some revenue in, and it grew and became a huge thing. We had somebody literally rip off. They used the same third party provider that we used. They built
Gitbook.
their website. We use Gitbook for the knowledge base, but then we used Useful for the guides. And
Oh, okay.
so this was before it was like common knowledge because Useful had a lifetime deal and everybody started talking about it. So we just proudly said we're on Useful. Like we didn't hide it anymore. But at that point, then this guy is some random dude in another country, a young kid, maybe like 22, 23, built his website with all of our copy from our website, images and videos from our website, copy it
Wow.
from inside the tours, the click tours from ours, exact word for word. And I built every single one of them. So I'm like, dude, I know that. That's my shit. That's my brain. No AI. This is before ChatGPT. And I went hard. I was like, dude, you need to fucking stop. Like a cease and desist through just conversation. And he pulled it all down. I went the next day. His website was down. So he might have just moved it and like still kept going, but I'd
I
hope
will
that
That's
he
the one
put
thing you
wouldn't.
do. You go to
I'll
kicksasslegal.com, search cease and
Hey,
desist letter, and there's a bunch of them in there. You can just
hell
here's
yeah.
so here is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna throw in a little gift today. Well, for those of you guys listening into the show
Ooh,
notes, if you go into podcast.com and go in the show notes of this episode, you can get access to download a code that you add on your website and it protects all text. It's not bulletproof. If you're more techy, you can still get around it, but it will protect all the copy on your pages, which is unselectable. And the same thing for images. So right now, on most websites, you right click image and you can like save as image, things like that. I'll give you guys a code and you just drop that in because
That's been
I
the last life. I just copy other people's images and put them on my website.
no, because I do that with my snapshots, right? Agencies that buy my
Yeah,
snapshots, okay, you guys, and they're more expensive for a reason. A,
yeah,
there's a lot of work, but B, I also don't want too many agencies using it because then the competitive advantage
right.
diminishes. So I actually make every single page on like in the funnels and things like that protected by default. And
Love
them
that, dude.
the agencies that buy this, they benefit too because that protects their shit. So it's like trying to minimize, yeah, shit
Yep.
being copied and fucking pasted.
Cool.
does it prevent
Love it.
other bots from calling the site? I'm just curious. Or is it just like,
Yeah, so that's another thing. So you just put a robots, and then you could put no index, no follow. So no robot. So it's a robots and Googlebot. Those two, you put them
Is
into meta tag in the SEO part of the website. So I
yeah,
apply those on thank you pages. Anything that's behind the gate, anything that's after the opt-in, I automatically apply those, and
dude,
that's also all of my snapshots have
can
that.
so you got
you
to
so
add the like Ahrefs like bot to like your robotext file, so that way that one can crawl the site if they need to,
Yeah, you don't have to
essentially.
do that because it's already
well,
on every single page like that.
does that stop ChatGPT from crawling your site? That would
I
stop
don't know.
ChatGPT, right? So that would affect that. But I'm curious, can you use custom values for that? So like in your snapshots, have a custom value that's like robot, yes or no. And if they don't fill it out, it just allows crawling. And then no, you can't do that. Yeah. Because I know where you're talking about in the SEO stuff.
I do use custom
Yeah.
values for when you put the SEO page title and page
Yeah.
description. You can put custom value of the sub account's name, and that works,
Yeah.
but not the actual metadata. No.
Okay.
Mm.
Interesting.
Listen,
Learn
I think
something new
that's
every day. I didn't even
we're
know
coming.
this was a thing.
Yeah, we're coming up on an hour and a half here. I think it was a pretty good episode. So I think we'll wrap it up here. Is there anything else we want to go over really quick before we end it? You got any
I
promos
mean,
or
I
anything,
think we
Chris?
dug
You want to
into
give
it,
anyone?
man. I think we dug into it. The really whole point of this
Yeah.
high level, and I think it's
Yeah.
a ripe and juicy topic right now because everybody's what is going on, but it's typical litigation. It's going to be a long time, so I wouldn't even worry about it. But I'd be interested to see how the whole business landscape changes through the whole
Yeah.
course of this. They're going to have discussions council to council about what's going on. So it'd be interesting to see. So we're not going to
Well,
be
listen,
privy to it, obviously, because we're not clients of theirs,
yeah.
but we may hear about it.
Yeah, and don't downplay yourself, man. You are a high level OG. So, like I said, me and Vit were going to get you in here before. This just happened to be like a nice, perfect combination of opportunity meets value and all that stuff. Really thankful for you to be on here, bro. It's good seeing you again. I haven't seen you in a little while since our last call. Definitely going to jump on a call after this and talk shop and talk business. But appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, appreciate it for having you.
Yeah,
I
really good.
appreciate it.
Really good having you and finally meeting you. And looking forward to, because I want this to be a long ride. Yeah, just like Joe Rogan shit. Like I want this podcast to go for years and years, having these,
Yeah.
so we can have a comeback episode in a year time or whatever. And
Well, yeah, man.
um, we talked
Yeah,
about
hopefully I have my other one going, and I'm like less and less dependent on GHL, and all of a sudden I have this like other SaaS company blowing up. That'd be nice, but we'll
yeah.
see. But in my day of life, if I can just choose to go surf or work, I think that's a win for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, that's where I was
Love
at before I got into software. When I was doing marketing stuff, I chose, do I want to work today and like mess with ads, or do I want to go golf or something or go to the beach? So I hear you, man. That's that beautiful
Choice, the
combination of
choice of
making
doing what
money.
you
And
want.
yeah, that's what we all do this for. I think that's the goal, is like, you want to make a lot of money. You want to put like things in place for your family and all that stuff. But the ability to wake up not stressed, the ability to wake up not freaking out because you don't know where your next paycheck's coming from. That's a really good feeling.
You just reminded me of a really cool activity that I used to do way back. I used to live in Scotland, and Scotland is the home birth of golf. And we just roll a big one and just go golf on the cliffs. There was like a big golf
Yeah, man.
course on the cliffs. Just roll. There's nothing more relaxing.
Golf on the cliffs or like golfing balls off the cliffs?
No, smoke a blunt and golf.
Okay.
Yeah. No, he was
I think you're
asking,
talking about,
are
like,
you hitting
sports
balls
thing,
off the
like, you're,
cliff?
like, just taking buckets of balls out and just smacking them off the
Yeah.
ocean. I was like,
Oh,
that'd be wild too.
Yeah.
yeah. It was, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. I can't remember. Yeah, it was a while back, but yeah.
Can't remember. He's like, I was too high. I can't remember.
All right, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. So,
Cool.
guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We didn't do any beef today, but you're welcome to submit one, and we will feature it in the next episode. As well as if you got anything inspiring you'd like to share, that would be also cool. Make sure you like, follow, and share. If you really enjoyed today's episode, make sure you share it with your fellow agency mates and other high levelers that you think would also benefit from listening. For show notes, links, and extra tips to help you grow your agency or your SaaS with High Level, please go to highlevelexperience.com. As promised, I will drop that code in there so you guys can check it out in the show notes. There's a different site for the episodes, by the way. It's podcast.highlevelexperience.com. But even if you go to the main one, it'll direct you there. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Chris, for jumping on board today's episode. It was really insightful. We really like these specialized, like really focused episodes. And today was all about legal stuff. And I'm sure we could dive in more. So probably follow-ups due in a couple of months.
Hey,
time.
Viv,
But
one more thing. We're going to have a link in the show notes and the YouTube description to KickSass Legal. So if you guys loved what Chris is doing, you guys really want to get some bundles and templates for all your legal stuff, we will have a link in the show notes and in the YouTube description for that.
yeah, and that NDA needs to be there as well. We need to work that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's a good idea.
For sure.
I love that. And NDA for who you give access to your stuff, to your shit. All right, so guys, so once again, thank you so much. Thank you, both of you, for being here. And thank you for guys listening. Don't forget to submit your impact story to be featured in our next episode. If you are interested to be on our next episode as a guest, you can do that too. And if you're interested to advertise, you can do that too. We have some packages now available. All of that can be found on highlevelexperience.com.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you, bro.
No problem. Appreciate